Versa is a really beautiful short animation. The animation quality is gorgeous. There's some really interesting choices that I'll talk about in a moment, but the story itself is really moving, and this is part of Disney's Short Circuit series. It's a standalone rather than being part of any of the existing three seasons. And as always at the beginning, we find out from the director a bit about the story. This one's directed by Malcolm Pierce, and I won't go into too much detail, but Pierce and his wife experienced the loss of a child, and this is what Versa depicts. Going into it, it was very clear this was going to be very heavy, but there are lighter moments and some very moving moments. I won't explain everything that happens initially, but then I will go into a little bit more detail, so I'll give a spoiler warning when I want to expand on a few things. So this was released in 2026, directed, as I said, by Malcolm Pierce, and it starts off with a couple in this kind of galaxy, this cosmic environment, and it's so gorgeous. The colours are beautiful, they're magical and majestical, and the use of light is brilliant. The clouds look fantastic. The couple find out they're having a baby. They're obviously very happy about this, and then there are complications. And the rest of the film, for the most part, is about the grief and primarily the way in which the husband and wife, I'm assuming they're married, the father and mother, deal with the grief in different ways. The father wants to run as far away from the situation as possible and, I guess, bury his head in the sand, whereas the mother wants to be beside the crib and not leave the situation. And I think it's highlighting something really significant, and that's the fact that grief can be different for everybody. And if you're the kind of person who wants to run away from it, it doesn't mean that you're neglecting that memory. And similarly, if you want to face it head on, that's not necessarily unhealthy either. And I will talk more about what ultimately happens in a moment. And I think that there are some interesting approaches to grief displayed here, and I think it does a really good job of showing that there are different ways, but also that it can divide a couple. And that's exactly what we see here, because they have different approaches. They're not facing it head on, and that can be really damaging. And from now I will go into spoiler details, so there will be spoilers. From now I want to talk a little bit more. I'll sum up very quickly first of all though and say gorgeous animation, very moving emotional narrative, the progression is brilliant, the use of light is fantastic, it all looks amazing. So spoilers from now as I explain what happens in pretty much the second half of the animation, and we get to the point where the husband is trying to pull the wife away, or the father's trying to pull the mother away, and she's running towards the baby's crib and he's just completely running in the opposite direction. And that, while I think having two opposite approaches to grief is perfectly fine, the fact that it can divide a couple so powerfully could be really challenging. And ultimately they come together and the father eventually goes to the crib. And this bit broke me because he puts his hand on the baby's crib and visually we see the character cracking. And those, of course, are the cracks of his grief. The grief that has broken down bits of his body, bits of his soul. And what I really loved about this is that once they're working together and working through their grief together, they then go on to have another child and they're really happy and dancing around, and it's a sudden mood shift. But those cracks are still on their body. And I think this is quite significant because it shows that, yes, while they were able to have another child and experience joy in life again, the damage has been done emotionally, and that grief will never truly leave them. Grief will scar the body, scar the soul, scar the mind, and by keeping those cracks on the body rather than letting them fully heal, in my opinion, helps to highlight that grief can be there forever. It never goes away. But you can learn to find happiness again. And also it shows that they're never leaving that child behind as well, because that child has affected them in a permanent way. And they'll always carry that child with them while also being able to give love and life to a new child. And I just think it was a really, really great decision. Not that it would have been less enjoyable if the cracks had healed, but I think that that message there, or at least my reading of that, is, I think, a really powerful thing. And on top of the moving story, we just have breathtakingly beautiful animation, gorgeous colour choices, great character designs, lovely fluid character movement. The music is really great as well. It's a really solid film. It's a beautiful animation. It's very emotional. But I'd say it's certainly one that's worth watching. Versa is stunning and moving and heartfelt and powerful. And I definitely think it's one that's worth checking out.